Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Marvelous Monday. I'm Leslie Watkins. Does your desk ever look like this? Well, I didn't have time to clear it away before I started the video today, so I thought I would just share with you the process. So I thought today what I would do would be to design something using my scraps, bits and pieces left over from other projects, and some of my favorite things. So this is what I ended up with. I'm just checking my settings to make sure that you can hear me. And in the process, I pulled out some of my most favorite things, and I thought this would be a perfect example of what a scrap busting project would look like. Now, right now, we have the scrap busting journal workshop that's opened, and that workshop is designed to help you use up things that you've been saving, hoarding, that you love, that you've tucked away, and that maybe it's time to find a nice permanent home for them. Some of the things that I have on my desk are some of my favorite stamp sets and dies. Coming up in May, we're going to have a brand new catalog, and many of the things that are currently available in the old or current catalog are going to retire. And I just wanted to point out these two that you may want to have in your toolbox of design. One is the Ranunculus Romance set, and I just love this for its vintage kind of shabby chic look. You have a beautiful border, you have a sprig of flowers, you have a cute little label, another beautiful cluster of ranunculus, some nice sentiments, and the background stamp with the script on it. And it also has these beautiful dies, and in them you have this standalone floral sprig, got this gorgeous leaf, a design element, something to cut out the label, and other stamps. But in here I have tucked away this cardstock that I had used to cut out some designs, and I put it in here because I thought, well, maybe I'll use this someday as a stencil. So today's the day. I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to use it to stencil with. I also found my Butterfly Brilliance stamp set, and I love this stamp set because it's got all these dies, and it's got one great big stamp that has these 6 gorgeous, beautifully detailed butterflies on it. So you can stamp this all at once. You can stamp it on watercolor paper or the shimmer vellum, not the shimmery white paper, and you can paint them and then cut them out. And this is also one single die, so you can cut them all out at once. So you end up with 6 beautifully detailed, 6, I'm counting right, okay. And what I do, so here's an example of a piece of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper that I stamped the butterflies out onto, and then I painted them, and I just put the watercolor paper inside the sleeve of this empty case, and inside here I've got all sorts of butterflies ready to go. So I'm sure I'll use some of the butterflies today as well. Then we've got some new things. So these are recently released stamp sets. The Petal Park comes in a bundle with this cool punch, so I can make 3D flowers. I love this. I love that it has 3 different styles of flowers on it and a leaf, and that I can cut out 3 at one time. So here's a little box that I made that features some of those stamps and flowers. These flowers were heat embossed on vellum, and inside this box I've got a bunch of vellum flowers excuse me, ready to go. Okay, some of them have gold heat embossing on them. These have those little I forget the name of this stuff, but the that pearlescent liquid that you can squeeze on and then it dries solid. So I'll be using these today. Here is the Decorative Borders stamp set, and by the way, you don't have to write this stuff down. I will be listing all of this below in the description after the video today. So if you just want to click on the supply list, you'll be able to find all these things. But this Decorative Borders set is beautiful. It's even got a corner design. It has these little kind of dingbats. It has the makings of a border, a swag. You've seen me use this beautiful leafy design a number of times, and another one. Okay, so jam-packed with all sorts of wonderful design elements. Brand new, we have this stamp set, which I'm so excited about because I've been waiting for classic letters for a long time, and I just have my fingers crossed that they're going to come out with a lower case, not low class, lower case letters to go with this. That would be absolutely perfect. And it also has these really pretty little sort of laurel leaf embellishments that you can use. They are in various configurations, so you know, tilting one way or the other, straight, rounded, small, large, so that you can embellish the letters. So I'm very excited about this stamp set. I haven't even opened up the pack yet. And then I've got out the Deckled Rectangle die set that I love. You've seen me use this a lot of times. I just wanted to remind you, if you don't already have this, this is something that you'll want to keep forever. I've got another die set here. This one is called Stylish Shapes. I think this is on back order, I'm not sure, but it features both circle shapes, squares, and these pennant banner kind of shapes. And what's nice about this set is that it has a stitching detail, so that when you cut out one of these shapes, you not only have the stitching on the shape around the outer edge, but you also have that same stitching detail on the negative or the window shape that you cut the shape out of. So this is a very nice set. And I love texture, and one of the best ways that you can add texture to a project is by using one of the embossing folders. So this is a 3D, which means that it is extra, has a higher relief than the standard embossing folders. And this one is called Hive, and it makes these beautiful honeycomb shapes. And I love using it with this gold shimmer vellum paper. Now this is something I've got in my stash. It's a retired product, but with the new catalog coming out, who knows, there might be something similar to it. And of course, you can always use the regular vellum and add some gold accents to it to get a similar effect. I've got some ribbon here. This is the gold ribbon. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using that today. I also have my linen thread that I always have handy. Okay, so this little box stays right on top of my workspace so I can grab it whenever I need it. And then finally, I have my scraps. So in this little Queen Bee folder, portfolio, I have some of the Distress Gold die, heat embossed, 3D embossed paper ready to go. So I'm just going to take those out because I may want to use that. I've got some of the Distress Gold paper. So here's one that already has that beautiful deckled edge on it, so that's a maybe. I make extras when I have a project that I'm working on that involves die cutting, embossing, heat embossing. I'll just make a few extra things. So here are some beautiful, very delicate vellum die cuts, so that might be interesting. Here's an example of a great big background stamp. So this is an oversized stamp, and I forget the name of it offhand, but that will be included in the list. And what I've done with this is I've painted it in with the re-inker dyes or inks. It was first heat embossed with copper, and I think this would make a really wonderful addition to a journal. So I've got this out just in case, and then I've got various other bits and pieces left over from other projects that I might be able to use. I'm going back into Valentine's here. There's some really pretty flowers and leaves. And then recently, I just did a card, which is the triangle pocket card. And in the making of this card, I did a prototype. Typically, when I do a prototype of a design, I will just use a neutral kind of a card base. So in this case, I used crumb cake to begin with, and then later decided, no, I wanted to have the mossy meadow background. So this is extra, but the insert is really cute. And it features a lot of texture and a lot of different elements. And so I think this would make a wonderful addition to a scrapbusting journal. So I'm going to keep that out. I've also got a whole goodie bag filled with die cuts that have been stamped, sponged. There are some Distress Gold accent pieces, so that's going to come in handy. And I've got my soft suede ink out. And this is a piece of crumb cake cardstock, and this measures 3.5 by 7.5. I thought this would make a nice base for my design. we can get started. Okay, so there's some quick and easy stenciling just using the negative shape of the cardstock left over from some die cutting. I love these pieces of the 3D embossing folder that are left over from that card I made, the triangle pocket fold card. So these will be perfect for the corners. But I want them to overlap the top of this deckled gold rectangle. So I'm going to put that down. Kind of center that on there. We're not going to see too much of this, but I like it for the background. And I don't want to cover up too much of my stenciling, so I'm just going to tear this down a little bit. I get those plastic shoebox sized containers, and if I'm working on a kind of an elaborate project, I'll use one of those things to gather up all of the elements that I'll be using. And after I'm done, a lot of things like this are usually left over, and I can just pull them off the shelf. So if it's something seasonal, like a Christmas box or a Valentine's box, maybe a gardening box or nature box, a bug box, you name it, you know, whatever the theme is that you're working on. It could be a color theme. Maybe you've got a blue box or a green box, and then you can just use that to do something, some kind of a scrap busting project like I'm doing here today. Okay, so there's my base so far, and thinking about the various elements of design. So some of the design elements are form, line, color, texture. Maybe we could add sparkle. So I've already started with a number of those things. Now while I have my sponge and my ink out, I'm going to go ahead and sponge the edges. I always like to do this because I think that it adds so much to the sort of polished or finished quality of the project. So you don't have those rough, plain edges. It just sort of frames the design. Now you could tear the edges. I'm going to keep my edges straight this time. Okay. So there we go. Now I've got these beautiful vellum pieces. Here is a piece left over from that gorgeous two-tone floral overall die. And this is actually stunning. It looks like lace. Now what you can do is you can clean up the edge and just sort of snip around these flower shapes and leaves to make it look like it was meant to be cut around there. But I think that for this project, I really like the idea of it looking like a tattered piece of lace that has that's just old and torn apart on the edge. So I'm going to leave it just as is. Get out my silicone craft mat and start dabbing some glue dots wherever there's a wide enough space to accommodate a little blob of glue. And I'm also paying careful attention to the edges so I don't have these little pieces peeling up. The Scrapbusting Journal Workshop registration is opened for just 5 more days. And that workshop is geared entirely to doing this sort of thing and using up your stash. So you'll learn how to make a really nice, sturdy, hardbound journal, and we're going to be using traditional bookbinding techniques. So when you get the hang of it and learn those things, you're going to be off and running and able to make any kind of customized book that you may like to have, whether it's for journaling or watercolor painting or as a scrapbusting kind of junk journal inspired one, which is what we're going to be featuring. I'm just blotting off that excess glue. I want this to line up on this edge like so. Give that a little press. Okay, so now we have this kind of a layer on our card. What else do we have here? These gorgeous. I love this kind of leafy swag. This is from the Queen Bee die set, and it's really pretty. So keep that out. And here is, this is one of my favorites. This is that beautiful wreath that comes with the Nature's Prints dies. And I love this, not only for its ferny, leafy wreath shape, but also because you can cut it apart and do so much with it. So that's a maybe. There's even a little bee in here. I see a couple of flowers that I definitely want to use, so I'm going to get those out. Okay, just trying to clear a little space here. What's in here? That's a possibility. So here I have a piece of crumb cake heat embossed with these beautiful golden leaves. Definitely like that. All right, I think we're done with the hive for the moment. You never know. Okay, now I need a kind of a feature element, and I'm thinking a butterfly. What I love about the butterflies also is that they symbolize inspiration, and because that is, of course, something that I strive to do every single day by sharing these videos with you, is to inspire you to pick up a paintbrush or a stamp set. Make a pretty little card and send it to a friend. Make a beautiful journal that you can use to jot down notes and ideas. What's in here? Oh, I forgot about that. That's pretty. I'm not going to use that on this piece, but good to know that it's there. Now here I have a number of neutral butterflies. So these are, looks like crumb cake with maybe soft suede ink. And I love to do my prototypes using neutrals. So any of these would be really nice. I think this one kind of gets lost. I like this one that has gold heat embossing on the very vanilla. I like the way that looks with the lace. All right, so that's a contender. This isn't bad. I want to grab a sentiment. Hold on just a moment. I'm going to zoom you in so that you can look at this for a second while I just go to my shelf and find a sentiment that I want. There's a particular one that I really like. It comes from the Forever Fern stamp set, which is another one of my favorites that comes with a wonderful collection of dies, and it has these terrific leafy stamps. But it has this sentiment that says, you can do this. And that may be my all-time favorite to include, to inspire people. So I'm going to use that today. Let me see if I can find an appropriate block. It's a little big. That'll work. I've used it so much that I think it needs a little cleaning. Alright, so I'm going to get my soft suede ink out again. And just going to put that in the top corner. Now I want to test this. I want to make sure that my ink, oh yeah, that's going to work just fine. Okay. Make sure it's right side up. There we go. And I like that sweeping in there like so. Going to hold that for a minute because there's a lot of texture underneath it, so I want to make sure the glue gets down into all those nooks and crannies. And then I really like the way this butterfly looks on here, so I'm going to go ahead, give that a little bend. And I'm just going to add the glue on the body so that the wings can bend up a little bit. All right, now I would like to fit these in somewhere. I'm afraid they're going to get lost on there, so I'll save those for something else. This we don't need. So I think the next thing I'm going to add is going to be some of these 3D flowers. Some of these are left over from Christmas. Like I think these were supposed to be little poinsettia flowers, but they'll work just fine on here. I really love these this stuff that I can't think of the name of. Maybe somebody out there can remember what this is called. This is the you'd think it would be right here someplace. It's those pearlescent drops. So those are a maybe. But I really want these. So these are some of the flowers that were heat embossed on vellum and then punched out using the Petal Park punch, which is another item that I consider an indispensable tool to have ready to go. And I want these flowers to have a little bit of a bend to them. So I'm going to go ahead and just gently curl them slightly. And these are going to go down with dimensionals. So let's see. I want minis. So here are my minis. I lost my flower. All right, hang on. I'll do another one. I think this is the one. I just didn't bend it enough. Let's see. Let's decide where this cluster is going to go. I don't want to cover up too much of my lace, but I do want these flowers to kind of be scattered. I've got a doubled up one here, the medium, along with the little one on top. And actually this would be a nice spot for that. I'm just going to tear that. Have that kind of sweeping across. And maybe just one of these little poinsettias. Just tuck that on there. All right, so that's what I've got so far. Make sure our butterfly is on there firmly. I'm just going to grab my glue dots. We need a couple of these little leaves. And maybe one more little flower just over in this place. Okay, so there it is. There it is lengthwise. All right, now I'm just going to take a minute to clear my surface so I can show you how I'm going to use this. Let's see. Cheryl says, have you tried the blending brushes to stencil? Yes, I have, Cheryl. I have a couple of them right next to me. I've got the big and the little, and they're wonderful. All right. Pop these back into the box. I'll have to think about whether or not I want to add one of those. I think it's just a little too delicate for this particular item. Okay, I'm almost cleared. Now, what I have is a sneak peek preview So here is an example of one of the basic hardbound journals that you can make in the workshop that's opened right now. So let me just close it up so you can get an idea of what it looks like. You will have your choice of using any kind of DSP ribbon or scraps that you currently have in your stash. So this is the Stash Busting Journal Making Workshop. It's a beautiful, sturdy, hardbound journal. Inside, it has 3 signatures. Okay, so loads and loads of pages, and you've got lots of room. You can see from the spaces here, you've got plenty of room to fill up these pages with all sorts of goodies. Now this particular one that I'm showing you has cardstock for the pages, so it's perfect for paper crafters, but you could easily swap out those pages for watercolor paper if you wanted to use the journal for painting with ink or with watercolors, or you could have a combination. But I'm going to be using this panel on the cover of my journal. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. Actually, you know what? I just thought of something. I'm going to be decorating the pages inside of the book, and I want to wait until the end to glue this down. But you can still get a sense of what that's going to look like. All right. And then I do want to add one more thing though. You remember I showed you that prototype. So here's that card with the triangle pocket that I made just as a prototype for the finished card. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut that I'm going to remove the back. Let me think. Yep. I'm going to remove this. And then I'm going to take this little corner and I'm going to adhere it right here in my book. And I think I'm going to go ahead and round those corners. Okay, and I'm just going to add the glue like so. Put this right down into that corner. Hold that steady for a minute. Now I can take my insert, pop that right back in there as a added surprise. And I also have a little tuck spot behind there that I can add something else. So there you have it. That is the scrap busting portion of some of the designs that, that you can do to decorate your journal. If you're interested in joining the workshop, there's still time. You get a kit that will have everything you need to make the journal. You'll get a complete supply list and PDF. You'll be invited into our bookmaking Facebook group, and there will be a Zoom, and there's going to be a creative challenge for a chance to win a prize. So you can go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com, find all the information there about the Scrap Busting Journal Workshop. And I will also include that information below after I get the video posted today. So I hope I gave you lots and lots of ideas. I can't wait to see what you do. Please share your ideas in the Dandelion Paper Pals. And if you're not a member of Dandelion Paper Pals, all you have to do is leave a comment below so I know who you are. Then in the Facebook search, look for Dandelion Paper Pals, ask to be invited in, and I will let you in. And there you can share all of your projects that have been inspired by one of the videos that you see here at Dandelion Cottage Design. So please like and share. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I'll be back on Wednesday for Watercolor Wednesday. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I'll see you next time.